What's up, everybody? I'm Dan Kornhauser.
And I am Bobby Hunt.
I'm Greg Gillett.
And thank you guys for tuning back in. This is going to be part 2 of our mock draft where we are splitting these picks pretty damn evenly. I'm the odd man out, but Bob, Greg, and myself making all these picks so far. We have made all the picks down to number 19, and Bob is on the clock with the Raiders' second first-round pick. Bob, take it away.
Real quickly, we ended it with Greg asking who blows it down more, Mekhi Becton or Laramie Tunsil. Would have to be Tunsil for me just because he had a bong video. I mean, how can you top that? So Mekhi Becton would really have to do a lot to surpass that. But anyway.
Face mask, legend.
We go to the Raiders, where they could be a team that would take someone like that, but he's not on the board anymore, so there's no worries there. And even with them adding Nick Kwiatkowski and also Corey Littleton in the offseason, and plenty of other free agents, that defense is still just piss poor. They need help up the middle regardless. And I think they take Patrick Queen. Now, he could be a middle linebacker or an outside linebacker in a 4-3. And he could slide into either spot. Probably you figured Corey Littleton will start at middle linebacker, but they need help there. They could really use a defensive tackle also. They still don't have much to write home there. Maurice Hurst and Jonathan Hankins are okay, but they're definitely replacement level at this point in their careers. And you got to help out Cleveland Ferrell and Max Crosby on the end that had pretty good rookie seasons, especially Mad Max for the Raiders last year. So I have them taking a defensive player. They need a lot of help there. They could use a lot of help on offense too, but we have all 4 top tackles off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Could be that, but they still have a decent O-line anyway. We already picked a receiver for them with Jerry Jeudy going off the board. So here I have them taking Patrick Queen at linebacker. They continue to bolster that unit. It was piss poor last year. Littleton's a step in the right direction, but Queen can help out a lot. 17 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. He had a nice pick of Tua Tagovailoa for his sole pick last year for the LSU Tigers, for the defending champions. And I think they take him here. It's a little early for my blood, but given how the board's fallen and the fact that they already took a receiver in our mock with, I believe Dan took Jerry Jeudy for them.
Yep.
I believe here, with Kinlaw not being an option, you just take Patrick Queen, linebacker LSU.
You heard the clock going off. That's the buzzer. Patrick Queen goes number 19 overall. So that's another Tiger Queen. Am I right?
Yeah, based off last night's linebacker episode, yeah.
We're not going to get back into that, but Carol Baskin definitely killed her husband. Anyway, so number 20, speaking of big cats, predatorial cats, the Jacksonville Jaguars are back on the clock. Greg, 20th overall. You're up, baby.
I'm just take a minute to shit on my division rival, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team is fucking putrid. They're awful. How do you go from AFC Championship 3 years ago to they're the fucking worst team in the league? They're a disaster.
Can I answer how you do that?
What's up?
By trading everybody away.
Trading everybody on every defensive starter they got rid of this offseason. They lost Marcel Darius, Calais Campbell, Jalen Ramsey during the season last year, AJ Boye. They're going to lose Yannick Ngakoue by trade and probably sometime in his draft. Defense is awful. Team is awful.
That's how you really feel. That being said, it's going to be
that being said, this is the second pick in the first round for the Jaguars. Dan, I went C.J. Henderson, cornerback, and with the 9th pick. I have them they could go anywhere on defense right now, but I have them picking – it's not the biggest need, but I think it's the best defensive prospect left on the board, and he's the number 1 at his position. I have them going safety from Alabama, Xavier McKinney, just to help boost that secondary. It's awful. But they could go – they need O-line. There's rumors going around that they could trade Leonard Fournette. So they would have their pick of the best running back right here if they wanted to. If they did deal Fournette, they need to get Uncle Rico, a wide receiver. But I have them going Xavier McKinney.
Okay. I mean, I don't hate it. I have him. He's my only first-round safety. and I believe I have a 19th overall grade on him. 18th. He's my 18th overall prospect. So this is actually right in his range for me. And considering that currently their starting safeties are Ronnie fucking Bundles, Ronnie Harrison, and Gerard Wilson.
Not
It's
Rodney Harrison.
no, Ronnie
Okay.
Buns. Yeah. Okay. Ronnie Bundles is their fucking starting strong safety, and it's terrible. So I don't hate the pick, but you're right. They got a lot of friggin' needs, just to say it very, very nicely. Uh, all that in mind, good pick, Greg. But we're now on the 21st pick. The Philadelphia Eagles, flying high and sitting here at number 21, and I am on the clock. Start that. Boom. So the Eagles are an interesting team. They have Super Bowl aspirations, but they have a lot of holes on their roster as currently constructed. They could definitely stand to add some speed at wide receiver. Deshaun Jackson is what they got, but he's over 30 at this point, 32, 33. He's fucking old. Alshon Jeffrey is injury prone, and they're trying to trade him. So we'll see who wants to take on that big contract and that big injury concern. But if they can't deal him, they'll still have those two guys. But they have really nothing else behind them. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, their second-round pick last year, showed pretty much nothing in limited time, even with all the injuries at the end of the year to Jackson, to Jeffrey, etc. He didn't really shine. He didn't really impress. Greg Ward was the better receiver than him in the Eagles offense at the end of the season, which is a damn shame because he was an undrafted free agent, former quarterback. And yeah, anywho. So they need a receiver, which sounds a little weird, but they do. They need linebacker help because currently their linebackers are TJ Edwards, Duke Riley, and Nathan Jerry. And it's just disgusting. That's putrid right there. That trifecta is just awful. Their O-line needs depth. They got a bunch of old guys that one that they've already lost at left tackle. Kelsey's not any spring chicken himself. Brandon Brooks keeps getting hurt, so they could stand to add offensive line depth as well. But I think their top two needs are wide receiver and linebacker, and I'm not going to reach for one of these wide receivers. I don't have currently any receivers on the board with a first-round grade left. I know Bob loves T. Higgins, but he's not a speed guy. I think they want a speed receiver, and I don't think he's going to fit with them, even though he would effectively replace Alshon Jeffrey. So I'm going to go Kenneth Murray, linebacker from Oklahoma right here. I think that's a great value pick. He's my second linebacker with a first-round grade, and he's my number 19 overall prospect. Plugs in, starts right away week one. And with that, Minnesota Vikings and Bob are on the clock.
All right, so the Minnesota Vikings are on the clock here at number 22. They acquired this pick in the Stephon Diggs trade, which shockingly netted them more than what the Texans received for DeAndre Hopkins, who is easily a better receiver in the league than Stephon Diggs, but that's another story for another day. At this spot, the Vikings will take a wide receiver, I believe, and the best one left on the board is someone that Dan mentioned with that last pick, someone I love in this draft and is actually number 4 on my receiver rankings, and that's T. Higgins out of Clemson. They really did nothing in the offseason to address the position before or after the Stephon Diggs trade. They still have Adam Thielen, but BC Johnson, Tajay Sharp, who they signed from the Titans, not going to cut it. And they need help at receiver really badly to help out Kirk Cousins and not put all the burden on Adam Thielen or expect BC Johnson all of a sudden become a great number 2. So they take T. Higgins here from Clemson, and I love T. Higgins. I love his tape. He's just fiery, competitive. He can win 50-50 balls. He's got that great size at nearly 6'4", 210. He still has kind of a lanky, skinny frame, so he can definitely stand to fill that out. But he's a red zone threat. He can win jump balls. He's competitive. He's played 30 games over the last 2 years, over 2,000 yards, 59 receptions in each season. He just checks all the boxes for me. And while some doubt his deep speed, which is fair to say, he didn't run his 40 at the combine. I figured he would have at the pro day for Clemson, but obviously that didn't happen due to COVID-19 concern in the country. But I think this is a great pick for the Vikings, arguably the best player on the board for me. He would be 15th overall, and they need a receiver. So they got to take T. Higgins here, or at least someone else like Laviska Shenault or Michael Pittman, whoever is available at this pick in real life.
I mean, I can't argue with that because you're absolutely right. They definitely need a receiver, but I think the Vikings are one of those teams that are in a lot of trouble. They lost their top three starting corners, and it's really bad at that position right now. Mike Hughes is their top guy, was a first-round pick in 2018, but their other starting corner is Nate Metters. I don't even know how to pronounce that name. And then it's Holton Hill, an undrafted free agent. So pretty disappointing lineup there. But they need multiple starting corners. They need at least one wide receiver. They need an edge rusher because Everson Griffin is a free agent. They didn't bring him back and didn't replace him adequately. And they absolutely need a guard and possibly a safety because Anthony Harris is franchise, but he's probably in the league next year. So I think the Vikings are in a bad spot. They need
But at
a
least they
lot
have
of
two
help.
first-round picks, and they've been strapped for cash for years. I mean, all they could really do as far as significance was sign Michael Pierce, D tackle from the Ravens.
Yeah. So that's a solid prospect at number 22. Bob T. Higgins off the board, another wide receiver. And here we go. The New England Patriots are on the board. Greg, what's going to go on in New England without Tom Brady?
The Patriots are in a spot that we have never seen them in. They went from Drew Bledsoe right on to Tom Brady, so we've never really seen them in rebuild mode.
Nope.
That was 25 years of quarterbacks right there.
BPE.
So the Patriots have a lot of holes. They're probably gonna stick with Jarrett Stidham. I mean, they're not. I don't see them drafting Jordan Love right here, who's the number one quarterback on the board. So they could N'Keal Harry, last year's first round pick, sucked. They need wide receivers, but
Yeah.
I don't see them going wide receiver right here. There's not one worthy of this pick.
What
So
about their losses on the front seven? They lost a lot of guys on defense at linebacker and on the D line.
Well, yeah, that's where I have them going. It's a typical Belichick pick. He always goes, D lineman.
Mm-hmm.
I have them going with the number one rated D lineman left on the board, AJ Epinesa from Iowa. I think it's a Bill Belichick pick. Yeah, that's it.
Short and sweet. I like it. I mean, I can't hate on it. He was productive at Iowa, as Bob and I had discussed when we went over our defensive line rankings and previewed that. But you're right. He does look like a Bill Belichick player. He's steady. He's smart. He produced that in the Big Ten, and the stats were there. The stats were definitely there. The measurables, not so much. He's not an athletic freak, but he can play in a couple different fronts. He can play in a 3-4 front. He can play in a 4-3 front. I think very comfortably. You can move him around, and that's what the Patriots do. I like it. So AJ Epinesa, D lineman from Iowa. And here we go. I'm back on the clock, the New Orleans Saints. And I know they have a lot riding on this pick. This team is gearing up for a Super Bowl run. Brought back Drew Brees, which was absolutely necessary for them this offseason. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders at receiver from San Francisco, which was a huge get as a free agent, unrestricted free agent. And this team is well positioned to make a move towards a championship. Malcolm Jenkins comes back to town to start at safety, which was another huge get for them, another leader on that defense, which is what they're looking for. Janoris Jenkins, even though he wasn't quite right in New York, the fact that he's not going to be covering wide receiver ones anymore, maybe that helps him regain some of his previous form. But the Saints are one of those teams that can go in a few different directions. Looking at their roster right now, linebacker stands out as a need. Demario Davis has been real solid for him, but Alex Anzalone and Kiko Alonso leave a lot to be desired, in my opinion. And looking around the roster, besides quarterback, do they really think they're going to take Jordan Love right here when you're gearing up for a Super Bowl? That I'm not too sure on. Another team that could use O-line depth, but it's nitpicking. It's really nitpicking for the Saints. They really don't have a lot of needs. They have some old guys in key spots, but really nothing that concerns me too much. So they're really in a good spot to either go best player available, or if they feel like a guy like maybe Zach Bond, if he's still on the board here as he is, maybe they can plug him in right there. Maybe this is a good trade down spot. I don't know if they'll even sit here and make this pick. But I don't know. I don't know which way I want to go with this pick right now. I'm kind of leaning linebacker, but I don't really want to take Zach Bond right here or Jordan Brooks or anyone like that. I got just under 25 seconds. They have a lot of depth at corner. I don't know, man.
Clock's ticking.
The clock is ticking.
Final countdown.
I'm down to like 15 seconds.
This just in, Kiko Alonso just suffered a concussion sitting on his couch.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. We'd probably believe that. That's not an unknown.
All right, so my clock is up.
Timer, finally.
My
What
clock
did you
is
put it on?
up.
3 minutes?
So my clock is up, and I still don't know who I want to take for this.
I knew you would be the one. Because every
Guys,
time
never
we do a
prepared.
Madden draft, this is something that happens too. We take
Never
the entire
prepared.
clock up, never ready, unprepared. Disgrace. I'm disappointed in you.
I mean, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm turning red here. I don't know what you want me to do.
Who's the pick?
He
All
looks
right,
like
fine. The
Ruben
pick's
on it.
gonna be Yatur Gross Matos. All right, he adds to their pass rush. I don't like
Gross.
what they have there. They have Jordan Cameron. Marcus Davenport was a first-round pick 2 years ago. Has done absolutely nothing, and they have no depth to speak of really behind them. So beef up that D line. Go from there. So I'll go Gross Matos here.
All right, well, Dan goes with Yatur Gross Matos out of Penn State for the New Orleans Saints. And now I have another Minnesota Vikings pick now at 25. I just picked T. Higgins out of Clemson, the wide receiver for them at 22. At 25, well, they need to address one of those other needs Dan talked about as well, whether that be on the offensive line, in the secondary. They hemorrhaged corners this offseason. A bunch of them went to Cincinnati, like Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander. So they definitely need some help in that secondary. So I'm torn really right now between, say, Christian Fulton or Trayvon Diggs, whether that be at LSU or Alabama, respectively, at cornerback. Maybe they could go with Austin Jackson, the tackle out of USC, Josh Jones, tackle out of Houston. Definitely a bunch of different options. They could even be someone that would take an edge rusher, but you guys just took Yatur Gross Matos and Epinesa right before this pick. So ultimately, I'm going to go with Christian Fulton, the corner out of LSU. I think he kind of fits the profile of what they like to do on defense. Now, he's not exactly a ball hawk, but he can play man-to-man and be physical. Comes from DBU in LSU, so even though there's some concerns about his coverage skills and sometimes getting burnt in college, I think he's still a very highly valued prospect. He's still third in my cornerback rankings, and a lot of people have him in their top 5 regardless. So I think the Vikings will take a corner here and take Christian Fulton out of LSU.
All right, I love it. Maybe we'll see a run on corners at this point because as of now, only 3 corners have come off the board, and we know how important that position is. So, Greg, you're on the clock now. Miami Dolphins with their 3rd first-round pick. What's it going to be?
Yeah, can I just mention something about that Vikings pick? Wouldn't it be cool if they got Antoine Winfield Jr.?
Yeah, dude.
Being that was that's a need for them, a safety. And
Hell
his
yeah.
dad played for them. That would be a cool story.
Yeah,
But,
either him or Diggs.
Yeah. So on to the Diggs too. On to the Dolphins. This is their
Yes.
3rd pick of the first round. We already got them getting their franchise quarterback and their left tackle,
Mm-hmm.
Mekhi Becton. So we're gonna give Herbert a weapon here. We're gonna give him the best running back in the draft, DeAndre Swift.
I like it.
Yeah, give him a nice run game to fall back on. I think, with their 3 first-round picks, they're probably the winners of this first round right now.
Hell
3
yeah.
really good starters. So, yeah.
And I mean,
That
a team with devoid of so much talent, even though they already have a quality running back in Howard, dude, that 1-2 punch could be deadly.
Yeah, Howard's he could be a workhorse running back, but
I think he's
already
better
has
as a
some miles on
complimentary
him.
guy.
Yeah, he's a complimentary back.
Mm-hmm.
Swift would make a good workhorse going forward.
Dude, I love it. That's a great pick. First running back, and my only running back with a first-round grade off the board. And here we go. We're getting to the stretch run here. Pick number 27. Seattle Seahawks on the board. Now, for the record, the Seahawks are not going to be picking here. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the Seahawks have traded down in the first round in every draft for the last 6 years or something like that, something crazy. Sometimes traded completely out of the first round entirely. So we'll see if they do that this year. But for the record, I have them trading out of this spot, so I don't think they'll be making this pick. But since we're not projecting trades, here we are. They need edge rushers. They need defensive line help. They need depth, particularly on the D-line. LJ Collier, their first-round pick last year, offered nothing his rookie year. Jerron Reed at D-tackle is one of the better players at his position, but do you really want to trust Poona Ford as the other D-tackle? Do you really want to trust Bruce Irvin as the other edge rusher, as your top edge rusher? I sure don't. I don't, okay? Their linebackers are still great. They still have Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. Their corners I like with Shaquille Griffin and Trey Flowers, even though Flowers fell off a little bit last year. They did add Quinton Dunbar from Washington via trade, so I think they're all set in secondary for the most part. They do have Quandre Diggs from the Lions at safety as well, so maybe this might be a spot for Antoine Winfield or Grant Delpit or Jerry Chin even if they were going to go with the safety position. They added Greg Olsen to the offense, but I'm looking at their team, and something that really stands out to me is that offensive line. It's always been a problem. And Russell Wilson's getting older. You can't expect him to keep running around and doing this thing. At some point, you got to protect him. And it's nice to have Dwayne Brown at left tackle. That's a good start. I guess DJ Fluker is a solid piece who would be starting at right guard for him, but BJ Finney at center, not too much. Ethan Pocic, who they drafted out of LSU in 2017 in the second round, not so much. Cedric Ogbohi, I don't know how to pronounce his name, again, not so much. So it's either offensive line or defensive line. The way the board's gone, I think this guy could start from week one, be an immediate upgrade at any position on the interior. And I'm going to go with Cesar Ruiz from Michigan, the center/guard. Plug him in right away at either center or guard position and help Russell Wilson, because we see how the Saints build their O-line. They have girthy center and guards because Breeze is tiny. Russell Wilson is tiny. Maybe they try to protect the interior as well and give him some room to roam inside. So I'm going to go with Cesar Ruiz for the Seahawks at this pick.
All right, so you believe they'll trade out, but if they were to stay here, they'll take Cesar Ruiz and help that O-line because they definitely could use some help there for sure. There's no doubt about it. So now I have the Ravens on the clock, and I'm really hemming and hawing on who they're going to take here because there's a lot of good options at this pick. I mean, the highest on my draft board right now is J.K. Dobbins, the running back out of Ohio State, but I think they are content with Mark Ingram, even though he's later on in his career. They have Gus Edwards backing him up. They still have Justice Hill, who they picked, I believe, in the 4th round out of Oklahoma State last year. And there's different ways that they could go, but to me, it's got to be linebacker. We've known the Ravens to be taking linebackers often, and the problem is they've been hemorrhaging them the past few years. I talked about this in our defensive rankings some, and they could really use one badly. They've lost C.J. Mosley, Zadarius Smith, Terrell Suggs, Patrick Owasu over the last few years, just to name a few, and some of the most high-profile names. They need some help. You can't just rely on Matt Judon now and LJ Fort and Chris Board at linebacker. Now, the problem here is that 3 best ones, in my opinion, I think also on Dan's rankings, are off the board. So that would be Patrick Queen, Kenneth Murray, and Isaiah Simmons. Mm-hmm. But with that said, I'll still take a linebacker here because he's still a pretty good value. And I actually have him as my 28th player overall, which slides in perfectly here for the Ravens at 28, and that's Zach Bond out of Wisconsin. You got a big boy, 6'3", almost 240, ran a 4.65, but he is a versatile player. They could line him up inside, or they can line him up outside. He's got a high IQ coming from Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a history of producing good players, and especially in the front 7. And I think he'd be an instant starter for them that they could plug in day one and expect to be able to provide a pass rush and just be able to make tackles in the open field and be a productive player right away for them. So I think they'll take Zach Bond here at number 28.
Not a bad pick. Not a bad pick at all, Bob.
Not a bad pick.
And you kind of cock-blocked me because I got the Packers pick coming up, and I was kind of eyeballing Bond. But here we are. And since I had my pick with the Lions, Bob made his pick for the Giants. Greg, you're on the board. You have to make your pick for your Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee motherfucking Titans coming off their best year since the Super Bowl run they had when they lost to the Rams. Good year to be a Titans fan.
Exactly 25 years ago today, they drafted Steve McNair. So they're
Yep.
Damn, dude.
Like Corn was saying with the Seahawks, I think the Titans I'm 90% sure they're trading out of this pick. In a conference call just 2 days ago, John Robinson was saying that he'd like to add more picks. So, and he's hit normally as a fan, I don't want to move out of the first round. But I have faith in John Robinson as a GM. He hit on Kevin Byard in third round, all pro safety. Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, both studs in the second round. So I'm not against him moving back. But being that we're not doing any trade backs, I think cornerbacks are our biggest need. I've seen a bunch of mocks have us go wide receiver. I think we're still a year away from drafting a wide receiver, at least this high. I don't think we're picking up Corey Davis's fifth-year option. He's been a bust. We could use a tackle, but I like Dennis Kelly. I mean, at least for the short term, to replace Conklin there.
Mm-hmm.
So I could go a couple ways. There's a couple cornerbacks I like on the board here. You got Trayvon Diggs, AJ Terrell. I think we go Trayvon Diggs. John Robinson has a history of picking SEC players. So, I'll take Trayvon Diggs, cornerback, Alabama.
Trayvon Diggs off the board. It's not a bad look. I don't have Diggs in the first round, but I do have a 28th. I have him 28th on my board. So 28th on my board, goes 29th overall.
I was looking at AJ Terrell, and I was going to mock him there. But like I said, if you go back and look at our picks from previous years, we do pick a lot of SEC guys. So,
hey, hard to argue with that logic. And of all people, you should know what your team does. So I'll trust you on this one. But again, he said they're most likely going to trade out. So we'll see. We'll see if that's what they do indeed end up doing. But we're hitting the stretch run officially, folks. We're down to the last 3 picks of this first round mock draft. Green Bay Packers, the San Francisco 49ers, and your Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. And I am on the clock. Now, as I mentioned before, Bob kind of cock-blocked me with that linebacker pick because Bond was going to be the pick. He's played at Wisconsin. They need a linebacker very badly. I mean, they're good outside with Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith and Rashawn Gary. I like Christian Kirksey at inside linebacker, but Oren Burks, who's currently slotted as their other inside linebacker, is a little problematic, and they have no depth to speak of. So I think for defense at least, linebackers are top need. Maybe a defensive lineman because I don't like Tyler Lancaster starting at one of their DN spots, which is what I currently have slotted at. But if it's not going to be linebacker and it's not going to be a defensive lineman, then it's going to be a wide receiver. You gotta give Aaron Rodgers some talent out there, all right? You done messed up, Aaron. You got to give this man some talent. Devontae Adams is a top 8 wide receiver in the NFL, but he's not enough, and they have nothing else. They brought in Devin Funchess, which is cute, and I guess it's a nice move, but him, Valdez-Scantling, they leave a lot to be desired at that position. And he's 30. I think Rodgers is going to be 33, 34, I think, this year, and he can't do it like he used to. He's not going to be able to just sling it to me, Bob, and Greg and make one of us a 1,000-yard receiver and do his thing. It's just you got to help him out. Okay, the offensive line is built. They got a solid running back in Aaron Jones. Their defense is getting built little by little. I think they might address that linebacker position in the second round or third round, which would be fine because there's a lot of good depth at that position later on in the mid rounds. But I'm going to have them with 5 receivers already off the board. I have the Green Bay Packers taking wide receiver, Denzel Mims from Baylor. He's been getting a lot of love this offseason. He had a very good combine. His tape is pretty solid. Baylor is but generally. Not considered a mecca for talent, but they do have several draftable prospects this year. And Denzel Mims is the best one of them, prototype size, speed, hands. And I think as a wide receiver two in this system, he'll fit snug as a bug.
Reminds me of Kendall Wright, a former Baylor wide receiver.
Yeah, a bigger version of him for sure, because
Yeah.
Wright was a little diminutive in stature. But I like the comparison for sure. But that's 6 wide receivers off the board already in the first round. Bob, San Francisco, what's it going to be?
Now, as opposed to a lot of the other teams that I've been picking for, this team does not have a lot of holes. And it makes sense given that they were the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. Lost to the Chiefs, unfortunately for them, had a lead in the fourth quarter and just blew it. I think here they are either looking at a tackle or a corner. I think that's probably the best available at this spot. Now, there's a few different players you could argue about, and it depends on what they value the most, who they have highest on their board. But to me, it's got to be one or the other. They could use a tackle because Joe Staley might not even return for this season, and if he does, he's still someone that after every year you're going to wonder, is he going to retire now? It's at that point in his career. Then on the other side, they have Mike McGlinchey, so he's set, but they could use some offensive line help. With that said, I think corner is a much bigger need. I don't trust Akello Witherspoon and K'Wan Williams. Sure, Richard Sherman is still very good, but you still have to wonder how many years he's going to play at an elite level. He's a cornerback that's over 30. So I think they help out that position there. It could be Jeff Gladney out of TCU, even a safety, maybe Grant Delpit. Maybe they address safety too. Maybe someone like Antoine Winfield actually that maybe could play some corner or nickelback for them. But ultimately, I think it'll be A.J. Terrell out of Clemson. I think he profiles well for the 49ers as kind of a man coverage corner. He has the requisite side you look for, 6'1", maybe 210, runs around a 4.4, 4.5 40. And I think he'd be a good solid starter opposite Richard Sherman. Maybe not from day one. It is difficult translating from corner, but plenty of great experience playing at Clemson and playing against the best teams in the country, whether that's some of the ACC teams or in the college football playoff. I think A.J. Terrell would definitely boost their secondary and fill a need, and also pretty good value. He's 37th on my board here, so it's not a far cry from where I have him valued.
No, not at all. Now, Gladney is the corner from TCU, is one of those guys who has been getting a lot of love late in this process, and to the point where I think one of the rumors recently was talking about him being the 3rd corner off the board. Now we have 5 corners already off the board, in Okudah, Henderson, Diggs, Fulton, and now Terrell. So I guess none of us are buying Gladney as the 3rd corner or even a first-round pick.
Hi, Snow. What's up?
Get out of here.
Kitty,
This guy.
what's up, Kitty? Look at that guy.
You know what?
Chauffeur.
You're done, Greg. We'll just let Snow take
Am
care
I,
of it for now.
And
Am I on the clock?
now you're on the clock. You're on the clock, number 32 overall. Kansas City
I'm not on the
Chiefs,
clock.
Super
Not
Bowl
on the
winners.
clock.
No, you got a cat on you.
For the
Anyway,
record, I'm not buying the Jeff Gladney hype. I mean, I think he could slide into the first round, but hey, that's not how we're mocking it.
that's not how we're mocking that at all. Greg, what's it gonna be? Boy, you got the 32nd pick.
You want to know what? You've thrown the word cock block out there a couple times this draft. Bob just cock blocked me with that A.J. Terrell pick to the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Chiefs' biggest need is in their secondary. Before I even make my pick, though, I want to thank you guys for having me join you guys on your mock video. It's one of my favorite days of the year, probably behind Thanksgiving only, and definitely my favorite sporting event of the year. So thank you for that.
Thank you for
Talk
coming
draft
on,
all
man.
the time.
Yep. Thank you for coming on.
It won't be the last time.
Yeah. So yeah, back to Bob cock blocking me. I don't know. How do you guys feel about I mean, they could. This is like a luxury pick for these guys. They're a powerhouse. How do you guys feel about before I make my pick? Maybe Antoine Winfield converting to cornerback. You guys see him playing cornerback in the NFL, or is he sticking to safety?
I think he's sticking to safety. I think that's where he's gonna shine. He's not his dad.
For me, I think he's going to get drafted as a safety, but I definitely think there are teams that might try to use him at corner. I mean, it's not unprecedented for certain guys to actually move it's usually the other way, cornerback to
Yeah.
safety. But we do
Mhm.
see every now and then a safety move to corner. Jalen Ramsey being one of them. And now, obviously, he's not that talent level, but I don't think it's outlandish given his size at only like 5'10", 190 or 200 or so. I mean, he's a little bit bigger than his dad, but not by much.
A 5'9" corner, not a fan.
Yeah,
His physical body, he physically profiles as a safety.
you got Jeff Gladney is still available. Jalen Johnson out of Utah, cornerback, is still available. But I actually like Gladney. He's a little old for a rookie. He's like 24 years old. But I like Antoine Winfield here. But I could also see them going Justin Matabuki, D lineman out of Texas A&M, or Russ Blacklock out of TCU. Chris Jones could be a trade piece within the next year. But yeah, I'll have them going Antoine Winfield Jr., Minnesota safety here.
Did you give any consideration to Jonathan Taylor or
I do
Clyde
not.
Edwards-Helaire or somebody like that?
No, I could definitely see them going like a offensive weapon in the second round, whether it be wide receiver or running back, but not here. I think they still need to address your defense.
Dan stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to ask the same thing with how the board fell and the fact that we still have good running backs like J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Taylor out there, maybe even Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They could consider it, but I do agree they'd probably more lean toward defense. And Andy Reid's had a history of having any kind of running back produce. So obviously they're going to stick with Damien Williams. He's going to be in the fold. I think they'll add some competition, but yeah, I don't think they're a regime that necessarily feels they got to take a guy in round one, for instance.
All right, so Antoine Winfield was the 32nd overall pick for the Kansas City Chiefs, trying to fill in some gaping holes on that defense, particularly in the back seven. And now the best part of the show is Greg's Pootie Cat Snow. Show fat.
Go
but
poke in the corner.
Get out of here.
There's still a lot of talent on the board. Jonathan Taylor, these other running backs, Josh Jones, tackle from Houston, Laviska Shenault, Brandon Ayuk.
It's a deep draft.
It's a very deep draft. Blacklock, like you said, Jordan Brooks at linebacker, Gladney, Jalen Johnson from Utah at corner, Grant Delpit. There's a lot of talent.
Like we mentioned with those last couple of picks, trade backs out of the first round. In this mock, we do have Jordan Love still on the board.
Yep.
So one of those back teams at the end of the first, maybe a team like I mentioned the Titans moving back, maybe a team like the Steelers who didn't have a first round pick, maybe they move up to get Jordan Love, replace Big Ben going forward. But yeah, it's a great draft. It's deep. So yeah, a lot of good guys still on the board.
So one quick, couple quick questions for you before we wrap up the mock draft episode. How many trades do you guys see going on in this first round? At the end of the day, how many total trades are we going to have? If you want to give me a bonus and give me some of the teams that you think are going to move, cool. Bonus points for those. But how many trades do you think are actually going to go down?
I'll say 5.
5, okay.
5 trades.
Okay. Bob?
I would guess if Vegas was setting the odds, it would be right around 4.5 or 5.5. I'll say 4 ultimately. I mean, we're all going to have close to the same numbers. So I'll go under Greg's. I'll go with 4. And some of the teams that are definitely going to trade, I think Browns are going to trade.
The price is wrong, Bob.
Yeah.
Yes, the price is wrong, bitch.
Oh, man.
Try to do the prices right and go under.
Right. I'll go Bob Barker on your ass, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like that? But
Bob
anyway,
Barker's a bitch.
I mean, it depends. If you count like individual trades, yeah, I think Cleveland and say Denver could be definitely one where Denver moves up to 10 and Cleveland slides back to 15. They both get guys that they really want. So I think those two are very likely. And same with Dan, where he said the Seahawks. I think that's another team very likely to trade. And hey, the Patriots, another one that seems to always trade. So if I had to bet, it would be those two teams that are very likely to be one of the ones that does make one trade.
We could also see the Dolphins trading the 18 and the 26 and trying to move up in the top 10.
Right, we can talk about those rumors. Yeah,
that's
the
right.
fact that we saw one thing today saying they want to move up to 3 to take a tackle ahead of the Giants. And then later I see a rumor that, they want 3 and 5. They don't even want to use 5 to get up to 3. So that could be a possibility. Maybe they do package both those late first rounders to move up and get to 3.
A
I
team
would
that
be disgusted if the Lions traded back from 3rd and ended up trading back and getting what, the 18th and the
Oh
26th.
man, oh, I would love it. We need to record that if it
I
happens.
think it would have to be more than that. I think they would have to throw in maybe like a future 3rd or even this year's 3rd.
I mean, they might have to spice it up a little bit, but honestly, based on the draft chart values of these draft picks, I think the 3rd overall pick is worth like 2,100 points. And based off of that chart, which pretty much every NFL team uses, the 18th and the 26th picks, I think alone would be over 2,000 points worth of value. If they wanted to throw in a 3rd round pick, then I think that's all they would need to do it to get it done. But I'm disgusted if that
Well,
would happen.
you're saying you'd be disgusted, but
I'd be disgusted.
we've mentioned that this is a deep draft, and you're not in love with the guys at 3 anyway.
No.
And Simmons, you're not comfortable picking them there anyway. So for you
No.
to go back to 18 and 26 and get 2 potential starters, I think that's and possibly a 3rd round. I think that's a win in this draft.
I mean, I only have 21 first round grades, and from what I'm reading, that's like that's around the average between like 20 and 25 first round grades that most analysts and teams are putting together. But dude, between the 2nd round and the 3rd round, from the 22nd pick, I got what, 48, 38, something like that, 2nd round grades. So I mean, yeah, it's, if you're going to be picking in the second half of the draft, you're going to be taking some 2nd round guys in the 1st round. But
I don't know if I had to pick one team that was a lock to trade up, though, I would say the Philadelphia Eagles. And you had them picking a linebacker, Kenneth Murray,
I
which
did.
is great pick. He's going to be a great middle linebacker. He's going to have a good career, I think. But they need a wide receiver. And I think that what they're picking at 21, I think that Cleveland Browns pick at 10, right before we went on a run of wide receivers.
Yep.
From 11 to 13, we went CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and Ruggs back to back. I think we could probably see the Eagles move up to the Browns at 10 before that run of wide receivers goes. They need a wide receiver bad.
See, that's bold, man. That's a bold move. We're talking about jumping up quite a bit. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
They
I
could,
really
but he's
don't.
right. I mean, if there's going to be a run, which everyone's suspecting, 10 is the spot to go to because the Jets and the Raiders especially really need wide receivers. And you're going to have, if you want one of the 2 top guys, or even 3 if you're including Ruggs in there, you got to be there. You got to be in that top 15, no doubt about it, this year. So I think that is a possibility. The Browns hold a lot of cards right now. They've been known to trade any which direction, really, regardless of whatever regime they have. Eagles could be definitely a spot. And they also need secondary help really badly. We've been saying it for years now. They could also really badly use a corner. So maybe they could go up and get even, say, C.J. Henderson instead if they really were so inclined.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this is one of the more exciting drafts in recent memory, and it goes beyond the fact that there's 3 quarterbacks that could go in the top 10. It goes beyond that at this point. But I think that puts a wrap on it, boys. Oh, wait, no. Wait, I didn't tell you how many trades I'm going to say. I'm going to go with 4 trades. I'm going to go with Bob. I'm going to say 4 trades.
So you're just going to pick what Bob said.
I know that's not fun.
This guy's got no
Cop
sand.
out.
We're here to be
It might
right.
even be 7 or 8. It could be crazy.
All right, you know what? No, you know what?
Initially, I was going to say
6.
7.
Fuck
I was
it, I'm
initially
going
going to say
6.
7. This guy
I'm going to go
says
6
4.
trades. Screw you both. I'm going 6 trades. Fuck Bob.
Great.
Fuck you too,
I love
Greg.
how we influenced it. That was great.
And you want to know what's going to
Suck
happen
that
when
shit.
there's 4 trades tomorrow night? He's going to be like,
Yeah.
I said 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
said 4.
said 4 originally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care what the recording says. The tape can suck it. All that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Greg, again, thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. This won't be the last time you'll be on the show. We appreciate your contributions. And with that being said, Bob, we got an IG, we got Twitter. What's our handle?
That would be DB Talking Sports. D as in Dan, B as in Bob. So that's Instagram and Twitter. We also have now the YouTube channel, DB Talking Sports. So subscribe on all of those. And we'd love to hear any kind of feedback that you have, positive or negative, or any comments, questions, what you feel about this mock draft or our rankings. We love to hear it all, and we will reply too. And we won't send you dickies, as Dan loves to say.
We're gonna hop in them DMs, but there's not gonna be dickies. All right, don't worry about that. Only sports knowledge.
Mm. Sounds good.
That being
We
said,
promise.
thank you guys again for tuning in. That was our first round mock draft. We will be posting it online for observational reasons. In case you want to look at it instead of just listen to it.
That's what it's for, so people can see our faces and hear us do the mock draft. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll fucking do it live.
Visual.
Anyway, I'm Dan Kornhauser.
I'll be on PlayStation.
I'm Dan Kornhauser.
I'm Bobby Hunt.
I'm Greg Gillett.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We will catch you guys later.